They say betrayal feels like a knife in the back, but that's not true. For Liam, it felt like nothing at all. Just a cold, hollow absence, a silence too sharp to ignore. The clinking of cutlery and the low hum of Christmas music filled the room, a manufactured coziness that had always been more for show than for comfort. Liam sat at the end of the table, exactly where he always was, close enough to refill his mother's wine, far enough to be excluded from the laughter. His mother, Janet, had perfected the art of making cruelty sound like practicality. Midway through dessert, with not even a glance in his direction, she said, "I think it's time you found your own place, Liam. You're almost 30. It's getting ridiculous." The words landed like an announcement, not a conversation. No warmth, no gratitude, just judgment wrapped in fake concern. Liam blinked, caught between the taste of cherry pie and the sudden sour twist in his gut. He put his fork down gently, carefully, like that might prevent the panic from surfacing. Across the table, his Aunt Clara paused mid-sentence. His cousin Evan looked away. No one said anything. "Okay," Liam said calmly. He didn't ask why. He didn't demand an explanation. After all, what was there to say? He had been financially supporting Janet for almost 5 years. Ever since his father died, she hadn't worked a single day. Bills, groceries, medical copays, all covered by Liam's IT job and freelance gigs. He'd even cashed out part of his emergency savings to fix her roof. And now she wanted him out, like a tenant being evicted without cause. He didn't cry, he didn't yell. He simply stood, walked to his room, packed a duffel bag, and left before anyone could find their voice. He waited days for a phone call, a text, even just a question. "Are you okay?" But there was nothing. The silence might have been survivable, but the lies? That's what burned. 2 weeks later, he got a call from his cousin Lucy. "Hey, I just wanted to check in," she said. "Is everything okay between you and your mom?" "What do you mean?" "She's been telling people you stormed out after refusing to help with dinner. Said you disrespected her on Christmas in front of the whole family." Liam's jaw clenched. "She said what?" "Yeah, and that she's been paying your bills for years. That you've been using her. I mean, I didn't believe it, but a few people are starting to." "I've been what?" Liam's voice cracked despite himself. "I've been paying her bills, rent, groceries, car insurance. She hasn't had a job since Dad passed." I know. I told Evan it didn't make sense, but she's really convincing when she talks about you, like you're this ungrateful burden." A burden? That word sat in his chest like a fist. He hung up politely, thanked Lucy for calling, and stared at the wall in his tiny sublet apartment. No pictures, no furniture yet, just a mattress on the floor and a lamp he'd rescued from a thrift store. A life started from scratch because he was finally forcibly cut loose. For days he tried to ignore the growing ache inside him, but then a photo surfaced on Facebook. Janet surrounded by family at Sunday dinner, smiling, hands clasped together in mock prayer. The caption read, "Grateful for a peaceful home again." That was it. Liam opened his laptop and began typing. He didn't rage, he didn't rant. He just told the truth. A clean, concise post. No accusations, just receipts. Literal screenshots of bank transfers, Venmo logs, texts asking if she needed groceries or medicine. 5 years of evidence calmly laid out. And a closing line. "She said I disrespected her at dinner. I said nothing. I left quietly. That was my mistake. I thought silence was grace, but silence when weaponized becomes complicity. I'm not angry, I'm just done." He hit post and closed the laptop. By the next morning, his inbox was full. Comments from cousins he hadn't seen in years. Messages from old family friends. People apologizing for believing Janet's lies. People thanking him for speaking out. Some even shared their own stories. Apparently, Liam wasn't the only one Janet had used. The next Sunday, she showed up at his door. Not with tears, not with apology, just a smile, tight and performative. "I thought we could talk," she said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. Liam stood still, watching her walk into the space like she owned it. Her eyes scanned the bare room, the lack of decor. "This place is, small," she commented. "I like it," Liam replied. "It's mine," Janet sighed. "I just don't understand why you had to make a scene online. You embarrassed the whole family. People are calling me, asking questions. I didn't lie. I never asked you to take care of me, Liam. You chose to. You were being dramatic. And now you're airing our dirty laundry. You told everyone I was elite. I was hurt. You left on Christmas. You told me to." She flinched at that. The first crack in her expression. "Liam, please," she said. "You're my son. This is all just a misunderstanding. We can move on." "No," he said. "You can move on. I already have." She blinked. "So, that's it?" "That's it." He didn't feel angry. Not anymore. He just felt tired. Tired of waiting for her to be someone she had never been. Tired of chasing a version of love that only came with strings attached. She left shortly after, saying something about needing to pick up dry cleaning. He didn't watch her go. He sat down on the mattress and took a deep breath. For the first time in years, the air didn't feel heavy. There was no closure, no dramatic apology. But in her absence, there was space. And in that space, Liam finally realized he was free. The post was only up for 24 hours before everything changed. Some messages were kind, others weren't. "I had no idea, Liam. I'm so sorry. Your mother always said you were distant, but now I see she was projecting. You didn't deserve that. Thank you for saying something." But then came the others. "You should have handled this privately. Posting your family's business online? That's low. You only made her look bad. Is that what you wanted?" Liam stared at the screen, his heart alternating between swelling and sinking. It was the first time in his life he felt both heard and judged in equal measure. And then came the text from his mother. "Delete it. It's humiliating. People are calling me, asking questions. I can't go to church. I can't even go to the store without someone whispering. You want to ruin your mother for what? Internet sympathy? Please take it down." He didn't answer. He couldn't, not immediately, because for once her guilt trip didn't work. The net was unraveling and she could no longer control the narrative. Later that night, he got a voicemail. Her voice was calm. Too calm. "Liam, baby, I just don't understand why you're doing this to me. I've always done what I thought was best for you. Maybe I made mistakes, but I'm your mother. That used to mean something. You're hurting me. Please, take it down. Let's talk this out face to face. I miss you." He played it twice, then again, and then he deleted it. A week passed. The noise died down, and something strange began to grow in the silence. Possibility. For the first time in years, Liam didn't have to think about someone else's medication, grocery list, or overdue utility bill. He started walking after work, not out of anxiety, but because he wanted to feel the air. He updated his resume and applied to 2 jobs just because they excited him. No safe picks, no stable for Janet considerations. He texted his old friend Michaela, someone he hadn't talked to since college, and asked if she wanted to grab a drink. She said yes. And on his 27th birthday, Liam bought himself a chocolate cupcake from a small bakery near his new apartment. He lit a single candle and sat on the fire escape as the sun set over the city skyline. No party, no obligation, no passive-aggressive comments about his life choices. It was quiet, bittersweet, empowering. Then came the twist. It was Lucy who called again. His cousin, one of the only family members who had stood by him. "Hey," she said, her voice shaking. "I don't know if you care, but your mom's in the hospital, chest pains. She's stable, but they're keeping her overnight." He didn't say anything. "I'm not telling you to go," she continued. "I just thought you should know. I'm here with her now. She asked about you." Liam hung up and stared at the ceiling for a long time. He didn't owe Janet anything, not a visit, not a prayer, but still the words haunted him. "She asked about you." It didn't make sense. Why should it matter now? Against his better judgment, he walked to the hospital. Not because he forgave her, but because he needed to really see what he felt when he stood in front of her. But when he arrived, she was asleep, pale, hooked up to machines that made quiet beeping sound. A woman who once loomed like a mountain now looked small, fragile. He didn't stay long, just long enough to leave the envelope. Inside it, a simple note. "I'm not coming back. I hope you recover, but I will not carry the weight you refuse to acknowledge." And beneath it, a printed copy of the post, the truth she tried to bury. That night, Liam didn't cry. Instead, he found himself sitting outside his apartment building, sipping coffee from a paper cup, when his neighbor strolled by. Her name was Sofia, early 40s, sharp eyeliner, witty, always carrying a tote bag full of books and oranges. "You're the guy who moved into 3C, right?" she asked. He nodded. "You play guitar?" "A little, not very well." "Well, we're doing a jam session / potluck this Saturday. A couple people from the building. No pressure, but you're invited." Something about the offer made his chest warm. Saturday came and Liam showed up with store-bought cookies and his old acoustic guitar. By the end of the night, he'd learned the names of 3 new people, laughed at 2 genuinely funny jokes, and listened to Sofia belt out an Aretha Franklin cover that gave him goosebumps. No one asked what his mom thought of his life. No one compared him to anyone else. Just music, food, and presents. A week later, Lucy called again. "Hey," she said cautiously. "Janet's out of the hospital. She's okay, but she left you something." "What do you mean?" "A letter. Said you might not read it, but she wanted to try." Liam didn't ask for it, but Lucy brought it anyway. He stared at the envelope for days. Didn't open it. Didn't throw it away either. Maybe he'd read it one day, maybe not. The difference was he didn't need to anymore, because for the first time Liam was surrounded by people who saw him not for what he gave or what he endured, but for who he was when he finally stopped shrinking. And that was enough. The letter sat unopened on Liam's kitchen counter for 5 days. He stared at it while pouring coffee, while brushing his teeth, while sorting laundry. Sometimes he reached for it. Sometimes he recoiled. What could she possibly say now? He'd already carved out a new kind of peace. Sofia's laughter down the hall, the low hum of Sunday music in the courtyard, texts from Michaela about random movie night and philosophical rabbit hole. Life was quieter, not perfect, but livable. And yet the envelope lingered like a whisper. You don't know everything. On the 6th day, curiosity cracked the seal. It wasn't long. Just 3 pages, neat handwriting, no smudges, as if she'd rewritten it more than once. Liam, I know you don't trust me. I don't expect you to. Maybe you won't read this at all, but I needed a try. The first half was filled with familiar rhythms, vague apologies without specifics, sentimental lines about motherhood, the occasional dig masked as guilt. I tried my best. If that wasn't good enough, I don't know what else you wanted from me. Liam almost stopped reading until he hit the 2nd page. There's something I never told you about your father. He didn't die when you were 12. That's what I let people assume because it was easier. The truth is, he left. Liam's breath caught. He left because of me. Because he said I made the house feel like a prison. He said he couldn't stand how I treated you and that someday you'd see it too. His eyes skimmed the words again, slowly this time, like maybe he'd misread them, but there it was. Not cancer. Not an accident. He left. On purpose. Because of her. He tried to come back. A few years later, he wrote, he called. I didn't tell you. I was afraid. I told him you didn't want to hear from him. That you were better off without a man who abandoned us. The final paragraph blurred behind the heat in his eyes. He wanted to see you again, Liam. He said he regretted leaving you behind more than anything. If you want, I can give you his last address. I don't know if he's still there, but if you go, tell him I'm sorry. Even if you don't believe I mean it. The paper trembled in his hands. He didn't know how long he sat there staring into nothing. The truth had weight. And this one dropped like a boulder into the calm pool he'd worked so hard to build. His father, alive, wanting contact. And Janet had erased that possibility with a few silent choices. Liam wasn't sure what hurt more, that his dad had left, or that he'd tried to come back and been kept out. He stood up suddenly, too fast, knocking his chair back. He paced the kitchen, heart racing. Did he want to find him? Was this another trap? What if his father was just like Janet? What if he had tried, sure, but gave up too easily? Could he stomach hearing that? But what if he wasn't? What if Liam had missed out on something real, someone who had chosen him, even if imperfectly? That night he called Lucy. She said he left, not died. Did you know? Lucy was quiet for a second too long. Not for sure, there were whispers. Aunt May once said something about a fight they had, but your mom always shut it down. Got real mean if anyone mentioned him. Liam pinched the bridge of his nose. She gave me an address. Says he tried to contact me. Lucy exhaled. Jesus, that's heavy. Yeah, so what are you going to do? I don't know. He didn't sleep. By morning, he knew one thing. He couldn't keep living under shadows. He wrote the address on a post-it and slid it into his wallet, just in case. Over the next few days, life pressed forward. A promotion offer landed in his inbox, unexpected but welcome. A new gym opened down the block and Sofia dragged him to the free trial class. I swear if you don't come, I'm making you do yoga in the hallway. And Liam went. He laughed until his abs hurt. He learned how to cook one impressive meal, lasagna with way too much cheese. He had a new ringtone for Lucy, emergency gossip hotline. He was building something, but the question remained. Was the past over? Or was it just beginning to unravel? The answer came sooner than expected. A thick manila envelope arrived a week later. Legal documents from Janet. She wasn't suing, not exactly, but she was naming him in a retroactive rent dispute. Claimed he owed her for backdated contributions to household expenses. Said she never agreed to him living there rent-free and wanted compensation. It was laughable. It wouldn't hold up. But it hit harder than it should have. This was the final blow. The confirmation. There would be no reconciliation. Not in this lifetime. Lucy came over that night with takeout and a bottle of wine. This is so her, she muttered, flipping through the documents. She's furious. She can't control the narrative anymore. So now she's trying to control the money. Liam didn't speak. He just stared at the small post-it note stuck to his fridge. The address. Lucy followed his gaze. You thinking about it? I don't know. Part of me is scared it's another lie or that he's worse. Or, she said gently, he's the opposite. Someone who could actually answer some of the questions still eating at you. Liam didn't answer, but he knew he would go. Not for closure, but for himself. The next morning, he packed a small bag, taped Janet's legal papers back in their envelope and placed it in a drawer he wouldn't be opening again. Then he scribbled a message on a sticky note and left it on his kitchen table. I don't know where this ends, but at least I'm not afraid to start. And with that, he walked out the door. The town was smaller than Liam expected. Just 2 gas stations, a bakery that doubled as a post office, and a faded welcome sign that creaked in the breeze. He parked in front of a modest blue house, the paint chipped in some places. but the flower beds neatly tended. The porch had 2 chairs, one of them facing slightly away, as if someone had sat there often, watching the world in passing glances. Liam stepped out of the car, heart pounding. For a moment, he considered walking away, just slipping back into the comfort of not knowing. Then, the door opened. The man who appeared looked older than Liam expected, but unmistakably familiar. Wrinkles carved deep by regret. A gray beard, unevenly trimmed. A hesitant stiffness in his stance, as though time had made him uncertain of how to stand in front of his own son. But the eyes were the same. They held the same color Liam saw in the mirror every morning, steel blue and restless, like they were always looking for something they weren't sure they deserved. Thomas blinked. Liam! The name left his mouth like a prayer and a wound at once. Liam only nodded. There was a long silence. Thomas started, then stopped. Do you want to come in? Liam hesitated before stepping up the porch and following the man who had once been a myth into the small, warmly lit house. The living room smelled like cedar and old books. A clock ticked on the wall. No TV, no distractions, just the hum of something unfinished waiting. Thomas poured tea without asking if Liam wanted it, and they sat across from each other, cups between them like fragile shields. I didn't think I'd ever see you, Thomas said quietly. I wasn't sure you'd ever want to. I wasn't, Liam replied. Until I did. More silence. But this one didn't hurt as much. Thomas leaned back, his hands shaking slightly. I tried. God, I tried. After I left, I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought you'd be better off without watching me fall apart. But then, I couldn't stay away. I wrote, called, left messages, sent packages. Liam stared, guarded. None of it came back. Thomas continued. And when I asked your mother, she said you didn't want to see me, that you hated me, that you were better off. She never told me, Liam said. Not once. Thomas's face crumbled. I figured, eventually, but I didn't want to risk pushing if that was true, so I just stayed here, waiting. He stood suddenly, shuffled to the hallway, and returned with a cardboard box. Inside were envelopes. Some unopened, others returned with stamps across them. There were dated photos, one of Liam in a school play, another from a science fair, newspaper clippings with his name circled. I kept up the best I could, Thomas murmured. She didn't give me much, but when I found something, I saved it. Liam looked through the letter. Birthday cards with heartfelt, clumsy handwriting. Notes that said, I'm proud of you, even if I can't tell you. He felt the tightness in his chest loosen just a little. I'm not looking for anything, Thomas said after a while. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I didn't forget you. Liam nodded slowly, his voice low. You were the only parent who saw how she treated me. Thomas's eyes glistened. I should have taken you with me. I used to wonder why you didn't. Thomas swallowed hard. Because I thought she'd let me see you again. And because I was a coward. It wasn't the answer Liam wanted, but it was the truth. That counted for something. They went for a walk later, through the edge of town. The leaves were turning, gold and burnt orange, crunching under their steps. They talked about music, about how Liam had inherited Thomas's love for old soul records, about the time Liam had a pet turtle named Kevin that no one ever remembered but him. They talked about what might have been, about what was. Not everything was easy. Liam flinched at some memory. Thomas fumbled through others, but the conversation was real, uneven, human. When the sky started to purple, they stood at the edge of a small overlook, the sun dipping low behind the hills. I don't know what to do with all of it, Liam admitted. I'm not sure I can just pick up where it never started. Thomas nodded, eyes on the horizon. You don't have to. We don't need to define it. You came. That's enough. That night back at the motel, faded curtains, buzzing vending machine down the hall, Liam sat on the bed and stared at the small box of photos Thomas had insisted he take. Proof, not of perfection, but of effort. And then his phone buzzed. It was Sofia. We miss your jokes. When you come back, bring some stories. Liam smiled. Not a broad, triumphant grin, just a quiet tug at the corner of his mouth, the kind that said, I'm still here. He didn't know what he'd do next. Whether he'd see Thomas again next month or next year. Whether healing would come in big gestures or slow conversation. But for the first time, he didn't feel stuck between grief and anger, between the child he was and the man he was trying to become. He wasn't lost. He wasn't whole either, but he was in motion, and that was enough.